Welcome, everybody, to the Learn Alpha podcast. I'm Van.
I'm Derek.
We'd like to welcome the family, the fam, Mr. Sid Rayborn, to the podcast.
Good to be here. Thank y'all for having me.
Glad to have you, my guy. Get that a little bit closer.
Man, so we got a real treat here today, talking to somebody we've known for years instead of just trying to find out stuff about people.
Yeah, man. We know your secrets. I'm going to let Derek start because he had a story he was going to talk about.
Yeah, I'm like the walking, talking megalodon.
Yeah.
So years ago, I started at Goche Police Department. That's how I met Sid. I had been knowing his dad for a long time from being in the community. His dad had worked at the sheriff's office, and his older brother had worked for Pascagoula, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so Sid went the other way and went to the fire department there and went to the red side of the house. And so years later, I'm a cop in Goche, and I'm a canine handler. Well, old Sid, a lot of people don't know, well, most of them that know him do, has a soft spot for dogs because dogs are way better than people, ain't that right?
You're right about that.
So I pull up behind the firehouse with my police dog and being nostalgic here back in the day, and I don't know about today because I haven't been around in a while, but the police and the fire department there in Goche had a real good partnership, real good relationship. So I'd pull up and visit with them. Well, I get old Rocco out, my brand new police dog, Belgian Malinois, 85 pounds of Fury.
Yeah, and, just teeth and hair.
Thunderbolt.
And he wants to meet the pup there. So I get him out, and Rocco had a real good off switch. Like, if I told him to be friends with you, he was going to be friends with you, but he didn't know that.
Right.
So, so the very first thing he does is go up in the truck bay and grab a hold of Sid around the waist and start doing the old lean with it, rock with it.
Mm-hmm. They was playing that little boosie on you.
Yeah, he had to establish dominance.
Real quick.
And so Sid backs up in the corner and is like, how do I get him to stop? And I don't remember if it was Russ or if it was Dave, but he said, we usually just let him finish.
Yeah. So I took a shower later that night at the fire station. I had claw marks down my chest and my side, and I was like, man, this is gonna suck.
God, that had to have been, that's 2007.
Yeah.
2007, a long time ago, man.
Well, the question everybody's going to want to know, did you let him finish?
I had no choice.
He took it like a trooper, though.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's crazy because I've known Sid for a long time before we were fam. And we played music all the time, played shows together and stuff like that. He plays them ebony and ivory keys, he's on them keys. He'd be talking to people, but
got that fire in me.
They got that fire in them plates. But yeah, I mean, Sid is one of us. He is an alpha through and through, and I dare anybody to test him, and I've seen him in action personally, and you don't want that in your life, and it's better to have the good Sid instead of the pink dolphin on you. So, yeah. But yeah, well, we're thankful that you came on the podcast today. Normally we talk about dad life, as you are a dad, got a beautiful baby and some stepdaughters, and your husband. You've been grinding in the fire world for a long time. Work out at Chevron these days, but you're still the same person. And that's at least for me, that's what I respect the most about you is no matter what position you've had, you've always been the same dude.
Yeah.
And you can't say that about a lot of people,
Yeah, I think I picked that up from my dad. I remember I was young, probably 7, 8 years old. And he said, never forget the road you came down. You might have to walk right back up it.
Yep.
Things change in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Speaking of your pops, I love your dad to death. He is comical. If people don't know, he always wears shirts with pockets in them. And I always mess with him because he always has a pen normally in his pocket. And I'm always like, well, if there's a pen, there's a check, And I'm always messing with him about it. But, he's a really humble dude, and he's always been that way. And he don't act like he has that blank check in his pocket. He always acts like, hey, I'm poor as could be right now, But I like your dad a lot because he's like that salt that's missing from the world, you know?
Yeah.
There's so many soft people in our world right now, and he's like that salt and that grit. Mm-hmm. He'll do anything for you if you're family or friends or whatever, but at the same time, his radar is high.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I've seen him, literally give people a shirt off of his back. And on some occasions, I've seen those same people put knives in his. So it's hard seeing him be done like that, but I know that he can handle his own. And so I kind of, sat back and learned from him, watch for this kind of person, watch how they say this, just sit back and watch somebody. You'll learn all you need to know.
Right.
So was he the guy that, like, inspired you to go into public service? Because you were a firefighter first, right?
Yeah. Like you said, my dad, he was in law enforcement. My brother was law enforcement. And my grandfather, he was a firefighter.
Okay, I didn't know that. Cool.
So,
cool.
Back in the 50s. So he worked at the shipyard. He was a pipe fitter. And then he worked at the fire station at night and drove a taxi cab on the side just to kind of, make ends meet.
I hear you.
I think they had 6 kids.
Okay.
So, he was always hustling.
So you knew coming up that's what you wanted to do, or what?
No, not really. Dad had a marina. He had Choctaw Marina, and that's where I grew up. So coming through all that, learning how to shrimp and run a business and everything, I was like, I think I want to do this. And Dad's like, well, I'm not going to hand it to you. You're going to earn it.
Yeah.
And so, on the weekends, every kid's out, running the roads, staying up all night. 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm on the back of a shrimp boat, shoveling shrimp and selling gas. And
You had them Back Bay Nikes on.
yeah, I had my bottle of battery Reeboks. And
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
And so, like, when you were younger, I've heard a couple of the stories, but, that shrimp boat was more than just a shrimp boat for your family. That was, like you said, another source of income, and it was important that your dad instilled that in you and your brother. And when your brother didn't show up, or you weren't in the mood, it was
game on.
It was game on with 2x4s and whatnot. You're gonna help the family.
Yep. Yes, we learned how to step up and do our part. And like I said, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Love my dad, love my mom. They're good people.
Your mom she's like a saint, dude.
Oh yeah, especially putting up with me and Dad. that was a challenge in itself, but yeah, it was a good time.
So when you were younger, what do you think out of all those life experiences with your pops meant the most to you? Was it the shrimp boat and that kind of sternness, or?
Yeah, I believe so, because we pretty much spent every weekend afternoon together. And unless I was at band practice or piano lessons. And, the time coming up, young kid, teenager era, you're like, man, this sucks. I don't want to be here. But then when you look back on it, when you get in college, you're like, I'm glad I had that time with my parents. And because my parents are older, they're in their 80s. Most people's parents are 25, 30 years older.
Right.
Mine were almost 40 when they had me, so.
He's a little wiser.
Surprise.
He's a little wiser when he had you, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I don't know the ins and outs of their relationships, my brother and my sister with my dad, but, I think at that point, he kind of had it. This is how it's going to be.
And things figured out.
Yeah. So it was pretty much streamlined. He only had to get a hold of me 3 or 4 times, maybe.
Yeah.
In our whole illustrious career of.
Well, because you got to see what happened to your older brother.
Oh yeah.
When it didn't go didn't go the right way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, and you were smart enough to figure out, I don't want none of that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I had one case. He actually came to the school and dealt me one right there in front of everybody.
But you had that one coming, though, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I deserved every bit of that one. But he wasn't scared to say, hey, if you screw up, you're gonna pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's missing from our world, man.
Yeah.
There is no consequences for bad actions anymore. It's almost like if you look at politics, if you look at the world, if you look at like globally, like NATO and stuff, there's no repercussions for negative actions against citizens. It's like, well, you have to understand they don't understand.
Yeah.
No, that's not the way of the world.
And I think when there's no accountability, things become reckless to a degree, and from there it just snowballs.
Yeah.
You don't have any conflict resolution anymore either. Like I don't think bullying is cool at all. Like right, we should do what we can do to prevent that from happening, because a lot of kids end up harming themselves because of things that happen with that. But also, you can't go so far that nothing ever gets resolved either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we had a coach in school, and he would have us put on headgear and gloves, and we wouldn't like go out back and fight. We'd do it by the rules, and. I made some friends like that, but now these kids, they don't get to resolve any kind of conflict, and it just turns into nonsense.
Yeah, it's like the adults in the room are making the wrong decision, and the kids are paying for it.
Or we're swinging the pendulum too far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no just right down the middle common sense.
Nah.
Yeah.
It's got to be one extreme or the other. And I think most people aren't like that. Most people are like, that's maybe too much, or that's not enough, But all you see when you turn on the propaganda of news is one extreme or the other. It's not like, hey, the average person just wants to get up in the morning, go to work, raise their kids, and be left alone. Mm-hmm. But instead we're inundated with you're too right, you're too left, you're too, just let me be a person and live my life without all this extra pressure on me to believe what you believe or to believe what you believe. I have a God-given right to believe what I want, and I live in a free country. And by God, I'm going to use that ability to think and believe what I want to believe.
Yeah. I think with people like us being in public service, and I mean, Derek especially being in the military, like there is no white and black or Asian or Spanish or, all that goes out the window, because when you work these jobs, you rely on each other.
That's right.
Yeah.
If somebody can't pull their weight, then that's an open hole for something to happen to somebody else.
Right.
And like I tell people, I don't necessarily look at the color of a person. I look at character. I mean, I know it sounds cliche, but
It's true.
No, it's the truth, man.
Yeah.
good people, bad people. And I treat people like I want to be treated.
Right.
Pretty much in a nutshell.
And that's kind of how the world is now. Like, even the average person that doesn't pay attention to politics or world events, they're starting to see that it's really just good versus evil. And that's like the basic simplicity of it all.
Yeah.
And the more you focus on the good, the more good you can do and all that.
Yeah.
But it just seems like lately, man, it's just been a heavy weight on everybody just being bombarded with everything.
Yeah.
And it's all because, like I said, there's no middle of the aisle anymore. It's one extreme or the other. Then the average person who's working 9 to 5 and has 2, 3 kids and just trying to, pay for their groceries, they don't even have time to turn on the news to see what's happening to the rest of the world, But eventually it's going to get to the point where you can't not know what's going on.
Or they've been beaten down by that news so much that they're just give up on it completely. They're like, hey, I make no difference. I'm just here to make some money to feed my kids, and that's all they care about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But you can't fix a problem unless you understand it.
Yep.
And sometimes when you're trying to figure that equation out, it's not always easy, but it's necessary in order to fix it. And it just seems like nobody really wants to fix it. I'll give you a perfect example. You always see commercials on TV about this pharmaceutical or that pharmaceutical for this thing or that thing to help people ease whatever their symptoms are. But in the process of doing that, they have a disclaimer that says, may cause bleeding, may cause diarrhea, may cause all these other issues that you don't
Up to
have.
and including death.
Yeah, up to including death, right?
Yeah.
And so no one really weighs the option, but they have to say that. And if you ever notice, they say it 10 times as fast as all the good, And that's because they don't want you to educate yourself on what you're actually taking.
Yeah.
And that's why those same companies don't ever fix a problem. They just ease the symptoms so you can kind of get through life. And it makes you wonder, like, are we just numbers creating numbers for bigger numbers?
Well, in a lot of countries, they can't even advertise that stuff. Big Pharma can't advertise, and it's against the rules. And you can say, well, that's a government being too overreaching. And I think a free society ought to be able to do and advertise how they see fit. But Also, man, we send doctors to school for at the minimum 7 years to determine what's best for us. And, you know, just because Big Sharon saw that this one medicine on this commercial, you know, on the, you know, like in between takes on the View, takes care of this certain symptom, that doesn't mean that's for them. And now we're yelling at our doctors and becoming terrible patients, you know, because of this advertising.
Yeah.
Social media is doing that to us as well.
Yeah, well, if you ever notice, like, I mean, 10 years ago, Facebook was cool because I had friends all over the world, you know, and I could share pictures and see their pictures of their family. I'm telling you right now, if I open my Facebook right now, I may see like 3 or 4 of my friends, actual friends that I would call on the phone today and have a conversation with. I'll see 3 or 4 of their posts, but the rest of it is all ads and things and people I care nothing about.
Yep.
So it makes you wonder, why am I still going to that? And here recently, I've just started doing less and less and less and less because the original purpose and intention of doing that was to communicate with people I was friends with. But now all I'm seeing is ads and things and groups of people that I'm not friends with. And, you know, it's cool to stumble across something every once in a while, but
I guess that's the algorithm because, dude, all I see are dank memes all day.
Yeah, I got some.
Your 4570 one today was amazing, by the way.
Troll post number 1.
Yeah. But, you know, that's just what I'm saying is that is how they keep us collectively occupied.
Yeah.
We're not focused on the facts. We're focused on all this other stuff that really, at the end of the day, means nothing.
I hear you. So, like, tell us how you ended up going from, you know, the shrimp boat to, hey, I'm going to be a fireman, to, hey, I'm now getting a degree and working at Chevron. How did that work out for you?
So, grew up around a marina setting, and my senior year in high school, I believe it was first or second week of May, Dad got a phone call one night. It was probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was Moss Point Fire Department. They said, hey, Choctaw Marina's on fire. Well, Dad had also taken another part-time job working for Destin Pipeline, where they put in the gas plant on Industrial, just north of Chevron.
Okay.
He was working security out there with Dane and Nikki Maxwell, Gerald Wayne Jones, all them guys, you know, that they all run around with. And so he called the house and told Mom about it. And I remember going down there the next morning, and like there was nothing. Like we lost our boats, lost the building, everything that was tied to the shrimp boat. And that shrimp boat was the only thing we had left. And so Dad gave it a run for another 6 or 8 months, and finally he just said, you know, I'm done, you know, lost everything I had. So I'm just going to sell what I can and, you know, quit while I'm ahead. So at that point, you know, I was starting junior college. Did my 2 years of prerequisites and all that. Got into nursing school. That was a tragedy. But, I think I was a semester away from graduating that, and finally I was like, you know, this isn't the right setting for me. I don't belong in a professional medical career setting.
Doesn't fit you.
Yeah. And
Neither did the scrubs.
yeah. So I took a step back, and Dad was actually one that brought it up to me. He's like, maybe you ought to try getting on the fire department or police department. And about that time, 9/11 happened. It was 2 years before I got hired in, I believe. And so at that point, there was waiting list to get on fire departments, police departments. And finally I get a call one day, and it was Mike Gray from Gaucher.
Yeah, I remember him.
Hey, I got a spot for you, you know, if you want to come up here and, you know, we'll talk about it and see how everything works out. And I said, okay. So, and the rest was history. So I did the fire department. I did almost 8 years in Gaucher. And 2014, I want to say. No, 2010, I'm sorry. 2010.
That was oil spill time, yeah.
Yeah, the oil spill happened. and that summer I went to work for Jackson County. So, I mean, I loved working at Gaucher. I loved the guys that were there, and
We had
it
some
was a
good times.
tight knit crew. Yeah, it was some jam up times. I mean, a lot of good things happened, but same time we saw a lot of bad things happen. You know, most of the bad things were to good people. And Jackson County calls one day and they're like, "Hey, would you come work over here for $14 an hour?" And I was like, "Man, I just hit the jackpot." And I was like,
Money.
I was like, I'm in it now, baby.
Bring me my cup of yak.
Yeah. And I said, I'll be there in 2 weeks.
Cavassier.
So I think I did roughly 4 years with Jackson County, 5 years. And I just got to the point where I was feeling not stagnant, but I was kind of questioning, you know, what am I doing here? Like, where do I belong in this kind of setting? And like I said, I love that job, and fortunately I worked with some guys from Gaucher at Jackson County, Randy Rutherford, a few other guys.
Great dude.
And I guess they were changing management and everything at the time, and they come in and said, "Well, you know, you're supposed to be here on this end of the spectrum. You should be topped out, but we're reconstructing everything, and you're going to be knocked back to this block on this new pay scale." And I was like, "Well, you know, that's rookie pay you're knocking me back to." "Well, you don't have all your years with us." And I said, "Well, you know, I got 1 for 1 when I transferred." "Well, yeah, we got a new boss. That doesn't matter anymore." And so I was kind of like, "Well, you know, I'm going to have to work X amount of years extra to get back to where I am now."
Yeah.
And so basically pushing my retirement off. And I was like, you know, I'll just find something else. And I told him straight up, I said, I'll start looking, you know. And so I'd applied at Chevron umpteen times, taking written tests, interviews, computer tests. I mean, I'd been through it 8 or 9 times, and I went to the junior college, and I think in less than a year I had my degree, and I got a job offer at a chemical company called Evonik.
That was the one in Mobile?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Theodore.
Theodore, yeah.
So went to work there. I did roughly 3 years, and I love that job. And the only pain about it was 45 minutes each way going to work. And so
Got that 4 Loco with some big ultimate
Yeah.
energy heading
Hey,
back to town.
that dude in that red Honda Civic,
yeah, I had a 2-door Honda Civic I barely fit in.
man.
And yeah, we gave it a run. And I'd applied one more time, done the test, everything, and I get a call out of the blue. It's like, "Hey, it's so-and-so, Chevron. I'm in Houston, Texas. You know, I want to talk to you about offering you a job." And at that point, you know, I'd tested so many times. I was like, you know, this has got to be some kind of joke or
Hey, which one of you got?
something. I said, I got to see something on paper. And she's like, "Well, you know, if you accept my offer over the phone, I'm going to fax you a job offer that you sign back and, you know, fax back to us." And I said, "Yeah, I'll take it." And that was actually I was in the gym. It was June the 6th, D-Day.
Wow.
And I was like, man, this was a little bit wild, but
Left field, you know.
so I started there in August of 2017. I've been there since.
Day. It was a chest day, wasn't
I
it?
think it was.
Yeah.
So, and it's been a good job. It's had its trials and, you know, errors, and been a learning curve, and, you know, just learning how a bigger corporation runs instead of a, you know, smaller chemical company. There's a lot more I don't know quite how to say it. It's a lot more
Corporate.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Corporate.
It's a lot more corporate.
Instead of saying this, you should say this. And
Yeah.
don't do this, do this. But
And if you want that check to keep coming in, you will.
yeah. And it's the main thing I have with that job now is it's a lot of overtime, and so I'm away from my family a lot more than I want to be,
And your friends.
and my friends. And so I miss Taco Tuesdays and weekend get-togethers and holidays, night shifts. I work, And but at the same time, it's allowed me to do things for my wife and my daughter and my stepdaughters that, you know, makes them happy. And I guess in the bigger picture, if my kid is happy and my wife's happy, then, you know, I'll make that sacrifice.
Yeah.
And because I don't want them to struggle. I mean, I worked for minimum wage, $7 an hour at the fire department for, you know, forever. And I was cutting grass, playing music, working on boats, you know, just any odd and end job I could find to make
Right.
40, 50 bucks. I was on it just because, you know, I had to take care of myself. I had my own house, my own bills, truck notes, insurance, and y'all know how the insurance game is here with wind pools and floods and
Oh yeah.
all that. It was,
If you explain that to somebody without saying the word insurance, they would think it would be organized crime.
100%. 100%.
yeah.
Oh, well, it's not just auto and house insurance, it's medical insurance. It's the same way.
Yeah.
You know, we had that discussion earlier.
Yeah.
You go 8 years without ever going to the doctor or making any serious claim. And if you take the total sum payments monthly versus the years, you're talking like 60, 70 grand you've paid into something and never used. But the first time you go to the doctor, oh, that's going to be $2,000 out of pocket.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so I got hit with that phone call today because I'm having surgery Thursday, and they're like, "Hey, your insurance requires that you pay $2,000 up front." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's I'm right there with you with the other definition for insurance.
Yeah, man, you spoke to me whenever you said that you know you're working a lot of hours and that you're working holidays and stuff like that, and you're doing it because it's allowing you to do things for your family. Yeah, that kind of spoke to me because I was on the other end of the spectrum. You know, I always knew what I wanted to do, and sometimes I felt like I was being selfish, right? Because I would. You know, and I'm not saying I enjoyed being away from my kids and my family on Christmas or anything like that, but I just wanted to go to work. And there was some Christmases that I wasn't able to buy the things or take the kids places or do the things that I wanted to do because of the choice that I made, right? Because of the choice of job I made. So I kind of felt selfish on that end. And that was some things I had to do. There were several times I had to go down to the old credit union and take me a signature loan out just to make Christmas gifts and then pay that back, you know, by tax time.
And overtime and all that.
Yeah, man.
You know, and
I'm right there with you.
festivals and whatnot.
Yep.
So you took it to heart, man, and then you went and got your job where you could do the things that you wanted to do for them. And my hat's off to you for that.
And I think, don't get me wrong, I love my wife, love her to death, but being in the fire department, I was in my 20s, you know, mid-20s, early 30s. And, of course, I was dating and whatnot. And I think that might have been a hindrance as the, you know, leading more serious types of relationships or anything. They were like, you know, he's just a fireman. He's always going to be like this.
He's Mr. October on the calendar.
Yeah. But he's always going to have to, you know, hustle to make ends meet, and jobs aren't going to be reliable on the side. You know, why should I be serious with him? And looking back at it,
Maybe it helped you get rid of a lot of heifers too.
well, yeah, that too. Because, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
you got to peel back the layers, you know, to see what's good. And
you ain't going to see all of it at one time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm sure just like y'all, you come home from work and, you know, you see something happen to a kid or, you know, something like that. And that always sat with me was, you know, things that happen with kids, accidents and drowning, stuff like that. And you just kind of want to compartmentalize, be to yourself. But then you have to, you know, meet expectations of, you know, you got to be here, you got to do this. We're going here for dinner. You know, we're talking to these people this weekend. We're hanging out here. And you just kind of want to stay at the house. And
Yeah.
And
So that probably worked out pretty good for you, though. Wait until you were a little bit older, a little bit more mature to have your own family, right?
yeah. And I think I had a lot of growing up to do because, you know, working those jobs, you almost turn into an adrenaline junkie.
Yeah, man.
You're always looking to do something to outgrade somebody else, or, you know, have a war story to talk about, and it like I said, it cost me relationships and couple of friendships, and the way I dealt with things, I wasn't, the greatest person myself. I'd party every weekend. If I was off, I was gone somewhere doing something.
The mullet toss.
Yeah, mullet
That's just being
toss.
young though, man.
The mullet toss.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I guess, when we were talking about seeing bad things, I guess I use that as a coping mechanism
Right.
to, kind of keep that stuff at bay. And then, like I said, look back on it now, I didn't get married until I was 40, I think, 41. My daughter was born when I was 40. And, of course, I caught a lot of flack from, all my friends and stuff, like, oh, you're going to be 60 years old when your daughter graduates.
I'll still bench press for you.
But
I'll be dropping her off in junior high, though.
I think just going through what I went through, I'm able to give my wife the best version of myself.
That's cool, man.
And
Yeah.
that's
super
what
cool.
that's what I can look at myself and say that
Yeah.
and feel that, and not have any regrets, or and there's a couple of times in our relationship that I've gotten in funks as far as just bad memories from work. I'm like, this day 15 years ago I was on this call, I worked this kid that drowned. We were driving through a neighborhood in Gaucher, Point Clear, and down on Seacrest Drive, the kid drowned in the bayou back there. And me and Gene Starr worked that kid, and we drove by the house, and I just kind of froze up a little bit, and I told her, I said, I worked a 5-year-old little boy drowned in the bayou right there, and I said, Gene went in and got him, and we worked him right there in the backyard of the house, got him all the way to the hospital, and they pronounced him. And it's just certain little things.
She pretty cool about understanding that.
Yeah, and she'll let me vent, and I don't go off the rails with it and get all outlandish or anything. It's just like we're talking now.
Yeah, it's just a marker in your life that you can't ever get past,
Yeah, and
I think all of us have those, man. That's pretty doggone normal.
yeah.
Yeah, well, there's
I don't like using that word normal because that suggests that everybody should be a certain way, but
they're
I
not.
think it's pretty common. How about that?
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
there's about there's about 1 million police officers in the United States, or law enforcement officers, and there's about 1.2 million firefighters in the United States, and there's 340 plus million people in the United States. So you can imagine everything that they see, just like we saw and see on a regular basis. And there's different ways to deal with it, but the fact that you understand that those are the things that made you and that you deal with, and you're not scared to talk about it, is important. Because a lot of times if you hold that in, that's what'll get you. Those demons will get you and just start festering in you.
Yeah, it's like a bomb.
Yeah, you can't do that,
Yep.
So, but that's good that you recognize that, and you deal with it that way instead of blaming everybody else for choices that you made and positions that you were in,
Yep.
Yeah.
But so being a dad, being a stepdad, being a husband, there's challenges to all of that.
Mm-hmm.
In life, when you go through those things and all your experiences you had leading up to this point, like you said, she's getting the best version of you, and I see that in you too. We're fam. What would you say is the most challenging part of being a dad, a stepdad, and a husband, and a full-time employee with a crazy schedule?
I think actually being present, like you can make phone calls to kids and say, hey, good luck with this, hope you have a good time. And with my stepdaughters, Trinity, she graduated last year, and every softball game I could be at, I was there.
Right.
And it didn't matter if I worked day shift and I'd been up since 3 o'clock that morning. I was there at that ball field. And the same with Riley, her softball games. Carson played softball for a couple of seasons. I think it's actually being present in person for them to see you there, supporting them. instead of getting a phone call saying, "Hey, good luck tonight,"
Yeah.
"I'll see you later," and just, and
man.
I think that, and probably setting an example, for the man that she'll want to be with when she, gets into college or after college, whenever they decide to settle down.
Trying to set that bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to show them somebody that's stable, somebody that, when they say something that they'll do, they'll actually back it up and do it. And, and if they want to talk, they know they can come to me. And most of the times, pardon my language, I am a hard ass on them.
Yeah.
But it's, and I tell them I have high expectations
Yeah.
of y'all. I want y'all to succeed. I want y'all to be independent. I don't want y'all to rely on anybody but yourself. The sky's yours. What you do with it is up to you.
Yeah.
But I know you're smart. I know you can do these things if you apply yourself. But I don't want to see you kicking cans down the road in 15 years, just
Yeah.
because you want to be lazy.
Yeah. Well, you get that from your dad. And that's why, Derek and I, we've talked to a bunch of people on our podcast thus far. And sometimes it's not always the person's dad. Sometimes it's their uncle or their neighbor or whoever,
Yeah.
But I know you get that from your pops. Like I said, he's that salt.
Yeah.
But he's also like the nicest guy you'll ever meet, as long as you don't cross him.
Oh, yeah.
And that trait carried over into you, and you're just passing that to the girls. And that's something I think that's missing from the world that needs to be done, because what I see from news articles and Twitter and X or Facebook or whatever is parents not actually being a parent and trying to be more of a friend.
Yeah.
And there's a time and place for both, but
Yeah.
on real big life decisions, you need to be a parent.
Yeah.
And I know you do that. And it's important because that means when they grow up, they'll turn out a better way than they would if you were just trying to be their friend.
Yeah, and I've actually said that to, all three of my stepdaughters, and I'll say it to mine, when she's at that age where she can understand, if you live under my house and we take care of you and you're still under our guidance, I'm your parent. When you move out and get on your own, support yourself, we can be friends and cut up and have a good time. I said, but until that point, this is what we expect. This is how things are going to be done. This is, if you foul up, you're going to own it.
Yeah.
We expect good grades. We expect good conduct. We want you to be cordial, and that's
Plain manners, man.
Yeah.
It goes so far nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing my dad told me. You catch more flies with sugar than you do.
Yep.
So,
You'd be surprised how many times I say yes, ma'am, or no, sir, to somebody who's just even a couple years older than me.
yeah,
They look at me like I'm crazy at first, and then they're like, wow, this guy, he just respects that,
My wife and I were down in St. Lucia not too long ago in the West Indies watching my oldest daughter get married. And we stayed at a Sandals resort because it was all inclusive and it was just easier than renting a place in town and having to worry about food and all that.
trading spices.
Hey, wait a minute. How many button-up shirts did you go through on that vacation? I gave you one, but I seen you in multiple. So how
By the
many
way,
do you think?
That thing is pressed and hanging in the closet. I forgot to bring it today. But
No. I wanted you to have it, man. When you wore it to that bar that night, I was like, oh, man, that was like the perfect shirt.
So I don't know how many I went down with, but I came back with +2 because I bought 2 while I was down there. But anyway, so we're down there and we're running into all these other couples because Sandals is a adults only resort, and we're down at the pool. And, we're cordial to people. I was taught that when you see people, you speak. It's just respectful. And we ran into this couple and they were like, "Hey, how's it going?" I said, "Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir." And they were like, "Oh, you're from the South." I said, "How'd you know that?" Because I don't think I have much of an accent, but I may. But
I don't think you really do to us, but to everybody else.
She said, "Well, it's your manners." And I said, "Well, that's cool. At least the South is still known for that in some way."
Yeah, and I can say that for me and my wife as well. We were on our honeymoon in the Keys, and like you said, you make conversation with people, just being polite, cordial, and people are like, yeah, y'all are from somewhere deep in the South.
Yeah.
And I said, what gave it away? My voice. They're like, well, yeah, that, and just the way you talk to people. Yes, ma'am. No, sir.
I'll never forget, I held the door open for some lady in New Jersey, and this was like early 2000s. It was before 9/11. I walked into a place and I got my pizza and I was walking out and I held the door open and she kind of like,
Like, is this dude about to rob me?
looked at me like from the side and I was like, no, go ahead. She was like, no, I got the door. I was like, no, go ahead. And she went in and she was still looking at me as she was going in, and they're not used to that.
Best feeling in the world's though when you let the door close after they've gone in, you just walk away and you leave them mystified.
Yeah, they have no clue.
Like, this dude was nice to me. I wonder why.
Yeah.
And the other thing that gives us up in the South is if you go anywhere north of the Mason-Dixon line and ask for sweet tea, they're like, well, we've got cold tea, you can add sugar to it. I'm like, that is not how you make sweet tea. I don't know how y'all make sweet tea, but that ain't it.
That's the worst version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you do for you? Like, you've talked about all the things you do for a living, the things you do for your family, but man, like, what do you do for Sid?
That's a good question.
Don't mean to put you on the spot.
No,
but
hey.
maybe you ought to.
Yeah. I think the majority, of my time I spend giving to my wife and kids, and and I am guilty of not taking care of myself. And like, I'll work until I'm just mentally drained, exhausted, and then I get, kind of, I guess, a little standoffish, I guess, just because I get drained from getting up every morning, going to work, coming home. I don't throw all the responsibilities of the house on my wife. If I come home and she's doing dinner, I'm usually cleaning up behind her, or I'll throw laundry at home.
Yeah.
Or on one of my off days, I'll clean the house. And we have a yard guy, I pay him, so I hate doing yard work.
Because you did it because you had to before.
Yeah.
And I think most of the time is, spent
What about
making
the
sure
gym?
they're taken care of.
What about the gym? You hit the gym pretty regular?
I do. I've slacked off in the past month or so just because of this surgery I've got coming up. But I say the gym was, always my
Self-care?
self-care. I can go in there, I can be in the foulest mood ever, and I'll walk out and I'm like, it's going to be a good day.
Yeah, you got the release.
Yeah, I got to blow off some steam. I didn't blow anybody's hair back. And I think it does great for my stress. And, just all around stress, health, just toning myself down a little bit. And I'm not a prideful person by any means. I think it keeps myself in check because it reminds me, I'm like, damn, I'm getting old.
Yeah, you're human.
I'm 45. I'm fixing up. I'm gonna crumble.
Yeah.
But my wife, she's 8 years younger than me, and I mean,
I've never met her, but I know she's got good taste in men.
I hope so. And I mean, it sounds stupid when I say it, but the first time I saw her, I was like, I need to talk to her. and there were some, things going on at the same time with other stuff, and the same with her. And we'd drift apart, reconnect, talk. Never went out on any dates or anything like that. And out of the blue, it just happened. I was single, she was single, and we decided to take it from there. But yeah, back on the subject. I'm sorry I got sidetracked.
No, you're good, man.
But I'd say the gym was probably my number one thing to do for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you also, when you do have those free times, my family, we spend a lot of time with you and your family, and we go on vacation together, and we grill or just hang out, because there's times when I don't know if he's working days or nights, and I normally wait for him to text me.
Yeah.
So I know, hey, okay.
Or wait till the afternoon.
Yeah. And when I get that text, I'm like, okay, he just woke up. He's about to go into work, and I try not to bother him because I know, I worked nights for a year when I was with the PD, and I just felt like a different human being, after 12 months of being a vampire,
Yeah.
but, yeah, I mean, you do that kind of stuff too. And, you guys go here and there and spend time with your mom and dad, they're always around, when you're not at work, and all those things are important because it's a constant reminder of, who you are,
Keep
Yeah,
it
and
grounded.
I do make it a point to call my parents, a couple times a day. If I'm off, I'll call them first thing in the morning, talk to my dad a couple times a day. My mom usually calls, and that's like an inside joke with us, because usually if I talk to one on the phone, I can hang the phone up and the other one's going to call within 5 minutes. It's like everybody's on a timer.
That's a blessing, though.
So, yeah, and I mean, I'm grateful that I still have that at my age and their age as well. 'Cause,
Yeah.
they're about to be pushing mid-80s, but I've been blessed with them having good health, and still being active, and with my little girl, my mom's constantly, "Hey, can I have Bryn? I'll keep her 3 or 4 days." I'm like, "Mom, I can't do that to you. She's gonna beat you down."
Yeah.
She just wants to spend
She's
that
a
time.
Yeah,
firecracker.
She'd been asking for a grandkid for God knows how long, and I always told her, I want to have a kid with the right person. 'Cause
That's right.
I don't want to, I don't want my kid to, be raised in a split home, go a week here with this parent, come back, go a week here. And I'm not sure if that was, part of the issues with my brother and sister, from my dad's first divorce. My mom didn't have any kids when they got married, and, she come in as a stepmom. I don't know if the issues came from that or, just prior history or what, but, I saw that growing up, and I don't know, I looked up to my brother and sister. I was like, maybe we can hang out sometime, all this. They had their own things going on, so did my parents, and, they went for a while without speaking. I'd say better part of 30 years, and, for one of my siblings, it's been longer. So in the back of my head, I always want to be like, maybe they can hammer this stuff out and, fix things. And like I said, my parents are getting old. I don't think they feel old, but, age-wise.
Yeah.
Because they're both mentally sharp. I mean, Dad's quick would have come back if you throw a comment at him.
Oh, man.
He's one
Yeah, I
back.
know he is.
So,
I know he is.
He
I've heard
hasn't
it.
lost his touch a bit.
no, he's a card.
And your mama give you that look.
Yeah.
She give you that look, dude.
Yeah. All she's got to do is cut eyes at me, and I know it's time to tone down.
Sit your butt.
Yeah, reel it back a couple of hairs.
So, in your life, what is the best advice you could give the younger version of yourself 20 years ago?
So 20 years ago, think about what you're doing, because it'll come back and haunt you. Because I left college. I kept anywhere from a 3.5 to a 4.0. And I was just tired of going to school. I turned down scholarships to play music when I graduated high school. And I felt like that did a disservice to my parents. And, when I did that, Dad was like, "You want to go to school? You're going to pay for it now."
Yeah.
And so, and at that age, you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof, you're cocky. And I was like, yeah, I can do this. And I could not do that.
Yeah. Humbled.
And yeah. So that was my servant, the humble pie. And then, later I progressed in my career at the fire department. I'd do all the training classes, ropes and instructors and confined spaces and driver operator classes, EMTs, fire officers, safety inspectors, all this stuff. But I never saw myself actually, moving up the chain, getting off of the truck.
Right.
I wanted to be
On the truck.
on the truck and in the middle of everything, because I felt that was my calling.
Right on.
But, you know, as you age, you get all the young bucks coming in, you know, then you don't have a choice, really.
You got to turn it over to them.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think think about what you're doing. You know, and then own it.
Yeah. Whatever your choice is.
Yeah.
You got to live with that.
Yep.
I'm going to hit you with a hard one, bro, and I hate to pull this one out of left field, but I got a question for you, all right? So let's say provided everything's taken care of for your wife and kids. Everything's taken care of, your career's on track, everything's good. What's one thing that you haven't done that you want to do for yourself that you haven't done yet?
Oh, that's a good one.
Big or small, what would you like to do for Sid Rayborn before it's your time to step foot on the old Rainbow Bridge?
That's a good one. I think with our community, especially up here in Van Cleve, it's a small, I wouldn't say close knit, but fairly close knit.
Yeah, I got you.
Everybody, kind of knows each other, kind of knows what's going on. I'd want to do something to leave an impact on the community as far as, making like a scholarship or, maybe even having a piece of property where people can come, cook out, hang out, almost like a public park or something like that.
Right.
Give something back, because, I've been blessed to have help along the way, and, I'd kind of like to return the favor.
Okay.
And I do that now with the marina I own. I sponsor, a couple of kids every year that are, in athletics. I sponsor scholarship funds. This coming year, I didn't even know it when I moved up here, but the high school has a bass fishing team, and it just blew my mind.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, where was that when I was in school?
Yeah, I know. And so I was like, I told my wife, I said, when we get things settled out the house, I'd like to put an effort into that with us having a marina here in town, because I think they have to go down to Gaucher and have their things there. And, as Van Cleve High School, I'd like to have them home.
Right.
And do it all there at the house. And, kind of.
There are plenty of fish up here.
Yeah. Yeah, give back to the community in, multiple ways would be my one thing to do.
So leave your mark, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, man, we definitely appreciate you coming on this evening.
I'm glad y'all had me.
It's been a long time coming, but we're glad you came, and hopefully these young guys that are watching this can get something from this and kind of see the path that you took, and they can maybe take a left or a right and change the path for themselves. But everybody's different, and everybody has a different story of how they got to where they are, and it's important to share that so that these young guys can see that.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
And make the right choices in their life.
Yeah.
Well, dude,
thank y'all for having me.
It's been a long time, man, but I'm going to tell you, I'm really proud of how far you've come. And
I appreciate
I'm not just
that.
saying that to be nice, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here today.
I appreciate
He's
that.
saying that because you have bigger plates right there.
I'm working on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate
Thank y'all.
you.
All right, brother.
You guys, please like and subscribe. We'll see you next week. Peace. Thank you.